So today we are going to talk about here on Advice for Life with Al Laws and my wife Aisha Laws.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about taking the mask off of the mask. I know that's like that's like a double whammy, like take the mask off the mask. That means we're going to be talking about the things that cause us to have masks in our lives, because these things affect our relationship. They cause us to really be in places that we don't even identify sometimes. Many times we are wearing masks for our whole life and we really don't see it. And because we don't see it, we can't really change. So here at Advice for Life, we're going to talk about that. We've been in our series of relationship talking about how men and women should show up in relationship. And today we're going to really show you how to show up. We're getting raw. We're talking to you. We got just a different setting this week. And we're only going to do one show this week. So you better get on. You better tell the people. You can get down right now. If you go over in the corner, you can hit the button and you can send out a message to your Facebook friends and let them know, don't miss this. So share it. Tell them to go ahead and hit in the bottom left-hand corner, and they can then send out to their Facebook friends. I want you to share this Facebook. I'm still waiting for my 50 shares. I need you every time that you look at it, every time that you think about it, every time it blesses you, just go and share what's going on. So thank you for being here. We're going to have an exciting time. Look, how men and women should show up. Men and women both have to show up a certain way in relationship. And so we're talking about taking off the mask. And so for us to begin that, I mean, I love seeing my wife in that mask. You look gorgeous, sweetie.
Thank you, my love.
She looks gorgeous. I like to keep it on. But since we're talking about taking off the mask, we're going to take off our mask at this point. So you can see how things are revealed. You see differently when you look at the mask. And so in the context, we've been with one of our callers, and Lisa, and we've been talking to Lisa, and part of what came out of that discussion with Lisa was we were talking about how we show up with mask on,
right?
And it really opened up a kind of lively discussion, and me and my wife talked about it, and we said, we really have to do more with this whole thing around masks. We really have to help people understand. Now, in our model, Family Strengthening, we have a skill called mirrors.
Right.
Now, I haven't taught mirrors yet, either in my radio program or on here on Facebook Live, but I will. Mirrors is probably one of the most powerful things you can learn in our model. It's really about reflecting people's thoughts, reflecting people's actions, reflecting people's behaviors,
right.
Reflecting people's thoughts and feelings. So when you learn how to mirror properly, you really get an opportunity to let people know that you really see them. You really know what they're trying to give, and you're trying to help them see themselves in it. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't taught about mirrors, but mirrors are very important. But one of the skills in mirroring is called metaphors. See? So metaphors are actually, they're word pictures. They're words that you can use to give you a picture
right.
about what's going on inside the person or about the person. So we are going to be using the metaphor mask, Aisha.
All right.
We're going to use the metaphor mask, and that metaphor is a metaphor for how we hide and how we try to cover the things that really we need to expose in order for our relationships to go to another level. So I want to start there, and I want to lead in with my wife, because I'm telling you, she is a master of both mirrors and talking about this subject. So I really, because I always want her, I'm pushing her to really give you, because she hasn't really given y'all what she really can give you. When my wife gives y'all what she really is going to give you, it's going to change the landscape of Advice for Life. So, and what we're doing here. So I want my wife to kind of show up, baby. I want you to show up and talk about a couple things that you thought about when we talked about taking off masks.
What really came to my heart as I was praying before the show was how in the medical field, mm-hmm. they identify masking an issue.
Right.
So what they're really doing is they're treating the symptom and never finding out what the problem actually is. It's called masking.
Right.
So it's masked. So a person, I'll give you an example. A person can have chest pains.
Okay.
And they'll go to the hospital and they'll give him muscle relaxers. But if you give him muscle relaxers, now the pain is gone.
Right.
You've masked the problem.
Right.
He no longer identifies that there's anything wrong. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, his arteries are clogged.
Sure.
And he could be having cardiac arrest.
Wow. Wow.
And this is what a mask can do. It is that dangerous for us to hide who we really are. It's that dangerous, y'all.
Wow. Wow.
We need to take the mask off so that we can actually be healed.
So what happens, and when I hearing you say, is that when people, and when us, let's don't say people, I'm talking about me, you,
Absolutely.
everybody here on
Everybody
Facebook Live, all of us have to be aware, and all of us have to search through ourselves and make sure that we are aware of our own mask.
Absolutely.
But what happens sometimes with our mask, we can try to cover them, or as you said in the medical field, mask them with other things, whether it be certain types of addictions or other behaviors that we make, extreme behaviors. It might be extreme fear. It might be extreme, lack of trust, that we really can't get over. It may be a lot of these things that we say, well, that's the way I am. Well, the way you are is because you haven't dealt with the masks that are in your life. So a lot of times we try to take that. That's even a mask. I'm gonna call it the mask of that's who I am. Let me put that mask on. So a lot of times we'll put that mask on saying that's who I am. And what that really is code for is I really don't want to look at this. I really don't want to deal with this. And in fact, you got to deal with it because I'm not willing to deal with it and I'm not willing to change.
I think it's even more.
Go ahead.
I think what it is that I identify that it might be a mask, but I really like this mask. When someone says that's how I am, that means more than I don't want to deal with it. It means I love this part. Why do I have to give this up? Yeah. They don't want to give up that piece of the mask. They don't want to deal with that because they enjoy that.
Well, they wouldn't enjoy it if the other person did the same thing to them. That's what I'm saying. So they may not really enjoy it because if the other person did exactly to them what that person is asking them to look at, and they say, well, you just have to, deal with it. So you don't like the fact. Let's say the one person is messy, and leaves the house a mess, and the person says that's just who I am,
right?
But the other person, is going to lie, cheat, and steal. And so if the other person's lying, they say, well, hey, I've always lied all my life. That's what I do. I mean, I try to, I don't really try. I don't mean it. I don't mean to lie. It's just like, I just don't want to. So.
Well, I think that's true. But I think if we really use a very vivid example, this happens in relationships between male and female where it's man cheats. He would not accept his woman cheating.
Absolutely not.
But he'll say, that's the way I am. That's how men are.
That's how men are.
That's what I'm talking about. So that means you need to accept this.
There you got it.
Because you can't find anyone that's not going to abuse you this way. You need to keep me.
In fact, a good friend of mine, I'm not going to say who it is, a good friend of mine made this statement. He said that 95% of men cheat.
Wow.
And he said he was being conservative. And that blew my mind. That he really was projecting that 95% of men cheat. Now, I'm not saying women don't cheat. I mean, if you watch Cheaters, a lot of women women cheat. Actually, there's more women that cheat on cheaters than men. But anyway, my point is that's the point I'm saying. What you made is that you can't make the excuse of your behaviors. You can't wear a mask of that's who I am in order to justify what you do. Because what happens when you begin to justify, you will go into a place that I'm going to talk about later, and you'll start wearing a mask of deception. And if you want to stay tuned, stay with us. When I get to that mask of deception, that's going to blow you away.
Absolutely.
So what else did you have, babe?
Okay. And then I had behind the mask, how our vision is obstructed.
Okay.
We really can't see the entire picture when we're wearing a mask. And what was in my heart around that was really not just male and female, parents do the same thing
Yes.
with their children.
Yes.
You can't see the total vision, then you give a child everything they want, everything they desire, and you just want to save them from the consequences of their actions all the time.
Right.
And what you are actually building, what you're building is a dependent 40-year-old.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's never going to be able to take care of you.
But a lot of times the females will get raised. They will get the instruction. They will get that. You better go out there and do what you got to do.
Right.
But you're right. Sometimes, and that happens both sides. Sometimes men will spoil their daughters.
Right.
And raise their sons. So it just happens both ways. But you're right. I think that's important.
So it really is obstructed vision.
Right.
It really is obstructed vision. And that mask is like the savior. I'm going to save you from any pain. I'm going to save you. And that mask, it belongs to the Lord. We should not even be trying to put on the savior.
Right.
That's not what we do.
I liked what you said about obstructing vision. Because you would think that, because masks have the holes in the eyes, but I noticed when I put that mask on, that thing was digging into the sides of my eyeballs, and it was not comfortable at all.
And your peripheral vision is obstructed. You can't really see.
I can't see in the same way. And I bet you if I kept the mask on, I would probably get used to it being there. But then I would lose the conception that I was really not able to see as well as I did before.
Right.
Because I would get used to not being able to see. I would get used to my vision being obstructed. Right. So part of looking at masks is important, as you just said, because then you forget that you can't see.
You're living below your privileges and don't even know it.
You're a blind fool and don't even know you're a blind fool. We are blind fool, don't even know we're blind.
Right.
And that's when Jesus talked about the blind leading the blind, they both end up in a ditch. That means that, man, if you don't know you following a blind man, that means you blind. I mean, anybody should be able to know. Don't a blind man have you know what I'm saying? If you're blind, they have a walking dog, they have a cane, they have something. Now, listen, I don't have nothing against anybody being blind, because most people can't help that they're blind.
Right.
However, that's an analogy. If you're blind, right, and that a person's blind, then you want to make sure that you're not following them in a way as it relates to how their sight is going. It's just an analogy. It's another metaphor.
Absolutely. I think that's wisdom. That when you're blind, even physically, you're watching, your eyes are your dog. They have those seeing eye dogs that help them not be obstructed in that way.
Right. And but the scripture really is talking about spiritual blindness.
Absolutely.
So it's not really talking about physical blindness. It's talking about a spiritual blindness. And when you follow people that are in a spiritual blindness, you also are going to lead yourself to be in the ditch.
Absolutely. That's why it's important to take the mask off, so you can actually see on every side. You can see what God has given you, who you actually are. Then when the mirrors come, you can see who you are and fix who you actually are instead of doctoring up your mask. Because, see, I keep this mask for myself, right? You see, it's very ornate.
Right.
It is hand painted. It has stone in now his mask. You can buy that anywhere. Right? My mask.
She's dissing my mask now. She's trying to.
I'm identifying that if you keep a mask long enough, you will be mirroring in that mask and be doctoring it up and fixing it so nice.
Right.
But it's still a mask.
Right. Yeah, I think in a practical sense, like, people put masks on of what I call a mask of war. Where everything is about fighting against something. So when they're in a relationship, they're not even comfortable unless they're fighting, unless there's opposition. You can almost call that mask the mask of drama, because some people really don't recognize that they always are looking for drama. And then when the other person tries to change and the other person tries to stop the drama, they will make up stuff and they will bring stuff up that really doesn't make any sense. And it's not always, some people think drama just means that people are just spazzing out, no, sometimes drama is just on a really small level. It's like, making a big deal out of, the remote, or, making a big deal about, whether we're going to do this at, 5 o'clock versus, 5:30. And it becomes this drama around this, when really, look, unless somebody's going to pass away or something, unless you got a previous engagement that, you've already committed to, why would that become, a dramatic situation.
Well, that mask, to me, the drama mask, is the victim mask.
Yes.
Anytime you see a lot of drama, that's a person that likes to wear the victim mask.
Right.
You move the remote, now it's a lot of drama around it
Right.
because now that hurt my feelings. I already told you why you don't respect me. And
Right.
you can always create drama
Right.
when you're a victim.
Sure.
But if you'd identified with being whole and healthy, then you don't have to wear that victim mask at all.
Right.
And the remote being across the room just means go get the remote. It doesn't mean drama.
It just means go get the remote.
Exactly.
That is too funny.
If it's not important when you're 90, it really isn't important right now.
Man, I love when you say that.
If it's not important when you're 90, it's not that important.
I really, when we're talking about mask, and I want to talk about some other ones, but this is very important to understand that masks are about us not wanting to look at our process. Mm-hmm. It's a covering. Mm-hmm. It's covering us from looking at our process. And as those of you who follow me on Advice for Life, I talk about process a lot. I talk about skills, and I talk about the process of looking at your intentions, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And those of you who haven't stayed tuned, you need to go back, you need to listen, and you need to stay with me as I really teach you the power of understanding process. And so when you are looking at masks cause you to not want to look at yourself. And so what happens also with masks is that it by nature causes you to project. Meaning that if I mask something with myself, then I may have a tendency to project to the other person. So I'm pointing my finger to the other person. So the very person who is pointing to the person that says, you don't listen,
right?
You don't understand, you don't try to understand me. That same person is not listening and not showing understanding, mm-hmm. But they will project it. Or you notice in certain situations in relationships where, a parent is dealing with a child, right? And because that child reminds them of themselves,
right,
they will begin to project certain things and thinking on that child that they had,
right,
or that they might have themselves right now, and they project it on the child. So really, masks can be very insidious because you get into this place where you're projecting. That means you cast things off of yourself, almost like what Adam did in the garden when God confronted him, mm-hmm. and said, "What is this that you have done, Adam?" And Adam said, "You know what, God? It wasn't me. It was the woman you gave me."
Oh, see, victim.
That's a victim, right? So the victim is not. See, when you're in the victim mentality, you not only blame the person that you're saying is victimizing you, you are also blaming God.
Absolutely,
because it's the woman you gave me. Mm-hmm. You're pointing to the person, and God, if God gave you that person, they gave you that child, if they gave you that son or daughter, if they gave you that husband and wife, if they gave you that friend, if you believe God has given it to you, how now can you then project and point to them,
right? And
then take a victim seat? We experienced that live because, when people get into the victim seat, they blame you for everything. Like, mm-hmm. so now their modem operandi is like, it's you, I'm blaming you, and you've done this to me, and how come you haven't fulfilled this for me?
And that's all so that you can fix it.
Right.
Fix it.
Fix it.
Even though I messed it up, I'm going to project that you messed it up,
right, so
that you can feel bad and fix it. And I was going to share that masks, normally when we wear a mask, it is the face that we want to be seen.
Right.
It is what we wish we were. It is what we hope to be. It's what we put on our face.
We hope that people will see us that way.
Right. We hope that people will see us that way. But we're painting it in the way that we want to look.
Yes.
Right. That's what we want to look like.
Right.
So now if you take that mask off and you see those blemishes and you see those pimples,
right,
then you're feeling like it won't be accepted.
Right.
By those that you desire to be accepted by.
Right.
But what really needs to happen is that the mirrors that come toward us, that we can identify, okay, you see that blemish.
Right.
How do I fix that blemish? This is where this blemish came from.
Right.
And when we confess one to another, then we can be healed. It's better to take the mask off and let the blemish be healed and revealed than it is to keep the mask on and keep painting it.
That's very interesting because when you have that mask, and you were saying that that's what the person wants to present because they don't believe that they'll be accepted.
Right.
So that's really the work that's inside them.
Exactly.
And what they don't realize is that they really are making themselves less acceptable when they don't deal with the blemishes. They don't deal with the real deal of what's going on with them. So the mask kind of makes you feel like you're protected. Yep. But I guarantee you, if a baseball bat comes at you, that mask is not going to protect you.
Right.
So when the harshness and the difficulties of life rise up and come against you, and you think that you're protected by this mask, where if you had dealt with and been willing to deal with what's underneath that, so that you can be and grow and improve and become who God has called you to be, then when the trials and tribulations come, right? Remember I said in the program last time, I said that really that scripture, when he talks about your house being built on the sand, really the sand represents the fact that you will not apply the word.
Right.
So when you learn to apply the word of God in your life, right, that's when you're building your house on a rock. But when you don't apply it, when you don't take off the mask and deal with what's going on,
right.
And that's what we do with Advice for Life. We're helping you gain skills so you feel safe, that you feel empowered to know how to deal with your mask and even the mask of the people who are in your life.
Absolutely.
Because they're non-injurious. The skills are non-injurious. They're not set out to injure anybody. They help people be able to share their thoughts and feelings appropriately in a way that people can really receive it and hear it. And it takes into account that everybody has their own thoughts and their own feelings, and it respects that, but it allows you to still deal and communicate about those things without ignoring the things that need to change in it.
Exactly.
And I see all those hearts and thumbs up. Thank you, my Facebook family. Look, we got some more for you, but I just want to check in real quick because I love my Facebook family. Greg, can you just kind of shout out to me, tell me what we got going on here.
Hey everybody. We have 25 viewers currently watching us, and people have been off and on.
Right.
And so we've heard, I'm trying to pick some people here. Dorothy has shared, she said, masks are like comfort food.
Yep.
They're only good as long as you have them on.
Right.
But they so uncomfortable that you have to take them off eventually because it's false.
Right. Well, comfort food also messes with your body health, and it also is addictive in some kind of ways, because if you eat sweets, you become addicted to those sweets.
Right.
That's a comfort food.
Quentin, he says, keep on doing what you're doing, guys.
Hey, Quentin, nice. Good to hear from you, yeah. Quentin. Glad you joined us, brother.
Alex says, love the medical metaphor.
Nice, Alex. Yeah, he told me he was going to join in. Nice. Excellent.
Yes. And Queen says, hello.
Oh, hello.
Yes. So people are involved. Tina says, mask, covering up your wounds and afraid of facing the real man in the mirror.
Wow.
Being afraid of vulnerability.
Yes, Tina, that's very powerful. So that's really why we're talking about masks, because as I said, it's a metaphor in our model for mirrors. It really is about you being able to look in the mirror and wanting to see your authentic self. The scriptures talk about the person who is willing to look into the mirror and really see themselves. And the secret is that I want to teach you enough skills. I want to give you enough insight that you can kind of take with you. So when you're looking in the mirror, you are actually growing and changing and transforming, and you can see it on the inside. So it's no longer you looking at the external picture that the mirror is giving you. You have a reflection of who you are and how you should be and how you should communicate on the inside. So the scriptures say when you walk away from the mirror and you can't remember what manner of man you are, you can't remember what manner of woman you are, you don't know who you are when you walk away, then you still need more work. That's what it says. It says you recognize that you need work, because when you get away from some part of, either listening to Advice for Life or reading the scriptures or being at church or doing the things that you may do, reading books that may be encouraging, and then when you walk away from them, although you're inspired in that moment, you walk away and you forget the manner of person that you are.
Or you can listen to Advice for Life, and you can go to church and you can read the word and never apply it.
That's right.
And then you'll still have the sores on your face that you don't want to go outside with.
Right.
So it's important to apply the things that you learn,
Right.
which means changing who you are to appear the way that you desire to appear. Right. And when you take your mask off, you'll have an even more beautiful appearance than your mask could ever give you, if you work on those things.
Right. I got a mask I'm gonna give you. You know, I'm funny within my own mind, so I got this mask that I'm calling the Yang Yang mask. Y'all don't know what the Yang Yang. Anybody heard of Yin and Yang? Well, I'm saying the Yin is the brightness, the good, and the Yang is the part that's not good, right? So I call the Yang Yang mask because some people put on that mask and all they can see is what's wrong with the situation.
Right.
They always, in every situation, are looking for what's not right, where something was missed, what's not right with something. So I call that the Yang Yang mask. I made that up myself. So it's not the Yin Yang mask. Remember, it's the Yang Yang mask. That means you spend all your energy and your time and your focus because you have been preoccupied and taught. And we do this as a society. We spend our energy looking at where people miss it and what's wrong. So when you're especially with children, it's very important. I hear parents say things like, "Oh, he's so bad," or she's bad. How can you say that to a child who's really growing? You're there. If they're bad, it's because you've been bad about what you've given them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot always look at what they're doing wrong. You can't look at their mischief. You have to find the good. You have to find where their strength is, and you have to begin to draw out their strength and speak to that. If you're in a relationship and every time you're talking and you're dialoguing, you're always telling the other person how they're missing it. And that's what we teach in Advice for Life. We say you have to find the good. You have to find the good. Even if you have to get out a magnifying glass, a telescope, whatever you need to do, you need to find the good. Because when you learn how to extract the precious from the worthless, then God will allow you to speak in a way. You'll find harmony when your focus is that you look at more yin, and actually that you look at more yin than you do yang. Right. And there's a little yin in all of your yang. You find some yin in it. I know y'all said you find some good in the difficulty. You find some good in the bad. So, I'm talking about the Yang Yang mask. Baby, what you say about the Yang Yang mask? Or you might have another mask. You might not want to talk about the Yang Yang mask.
Oh, Lord. What I got from what you shared about always finding what's wrong with the situation is that if you ask a person to take their mask off,
right,
you have to be prepared to love them and accept them.
Wow.
You don't ask someone to take the mask off and then identify all their blemishes at once and tell them how hideous they are.
All at once. Yeah, that's good. That's
not fair.
That's not fair.
and it shows that you're not trustworthy.
Right. You
have to love them anyway. You can't utilize their flaws as weapons against them.
Ooh, that's a whole show right there.
That's utilizing their blemishes to abuse them on the other side.
Right.
And that's not fair.
No.
This is part of the reason why people think it's necessary to wear a mask.
Right.
Is when people do that.
Right.
They see a blemish and they identify, okay, so you do that. And now your whole character is in question.
Yeah, it's like if somebody discloses something about themselves to someone, whether let's say it's a friend. So they're talking with a friend and they're disclosing something very deep and personal about themselves, and they're saying this is between me and you, right? And so they're doing that, but then the next time they get together with the friend says, "Well, you know how you let's say you disclose to them, when you get around people with a lot of money, you get intimidated."
Right.
Okay. So you go to a nice restaurant and you're just responding, and they'll just say, "Oh, there you go. You getting intimidated because there's a lot of people with money." Well, you may not be doing it because of that.
Right.
But they're putting that on you because you disclosed that. So it's the same way when you're in relationships, and then it's really bad when people, violate.
It's back.
Hey, somehow we lost you for a minute.
Somehow we
Sorry, I'm
froze
glad
for
you
a
stayed.
moment.
You stayed with us in it. So, what were we talking about?
We were talking about abusing
Right.
someone because they shared
Right.
the blemishes behind their mask.
Right, and so and you that's why when somebody discloses a secret about somebody in relationship, you say you have two friends, and I was talking about friends, and somebody tells somebody else about it. That really is a type of mask because they know they would never want somebody to disclose something that they shared that was personal.
Right.
But somehow they feel like they're going to either get in good with the person or they feel like they need to, show that other person's not as, perfect as, people might think they are, or whatever their thinking is, they know that they would not want somebody to do that to them.
Right.
And so it's interesting that we got to look at that when we can't even hold our tongue. With
Right.
somebody that we consider a friend, let alone we should hold our tongue for anybody. It shouldn't matter whether we think that person's a friend or not. We shouldn't be a gossip. We shouldn't be going around talking about other people. In fact, if a person is talking about other people, you better be careful because they're probably talking about you too. So I don't, when I see that a person can't hold their tongue and manage their tongue, I'm not going to be quick to give them any information.
Right.
Because I see that's a mask that they still have to deal with.
Well, I was going to use this example. I was out and a lady was sharing with that, my husband, he told me he's scared of the dentist. And I told him I'm not going with him. He needs to man up and stop whining and...
Okay. So my wife was telling her a story that we had a connection problem. We're sorry. So we're talking about the lady with the dentist, the husband and dentist.
And she began to regale him with all that he's supposed to be instead
as
of
a man. Right.
Instead of utilizing that moment as a safe place. I mean,
Right.
he's identifying this weakness to his wife, which should be a safe place.
And supporting him.
And so that's an opportunity
Right.
to build something for him.
Right.
That, okay, so you took off the mask there. Let's put some ointment on there, and I'll hold your hand. We'll go to the
Yes.
dentist together.
Yeah, she's done that for me, by the way. I don't like the dentist.
I was not going to say that.
I know, but I'm gonna put it out there. I'm taking my mask off today. But anyway, we have so much more to share. We can't give it all here today. We only have a limited time on our Facebook Live. Look, I want Greg to share some more and Greg, make sure you're clear that you kind of shout out what people are saying. If there's any questions, I want me and my wife to give a chance to answer any questions before we go. Remember, we're going to be back here next week every Tuesday at 8:30. And today we did a little different format. We didn't really do our radio show completely today, but every Tuesday we're going to try our best. Every Tuesday at 8:30, we're going to come and be with you. I appreciate the live audience. I appreciate the chatting that we're doing and the questions and the comments. And we're going to have our callers back. Remember, our caller Lisa is going to come back for her final thing.
Yes.
And then we're also going to have her husband come back. So you don't want to miss next week because we're still going to be talking about masks, but we're going to put those masks to practical terms. So we'll talk a little bit more about masks on the front end of the program. And then we're going to look at this reconciliation process with Lisa and her husband. You don't want to miss it. It's going to help you in this process. And we need your encouragement as you've been doing. We need you to be in there to give your feedback, your insight, because we don't see everything. So you can help us, but we will, as we go through that, teach you and help you see the family strengthening skills that you can use to improve your relationship. So Greg, talk to me about what my family's saying.
Yeah, Omar is saying amen.
Yes,
Amen.
nice, Omar.
And Victoria said amen.
Hi, Victoria.
Absolutely. And so we welcome
Thanks for
those.
joining us. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
coming in. Thank you for coming in and joining us.
Shayla gave us some clapping hands.
Nice. Shayla came in last program for the first time, so thanks for coming back, Shayla.
And Dr. Warren Jackson says, find the good, excellent.
That's my brother from Florida,
Excellent.
pastor in Florida. I just bought like 65 copies of his book. He's got a new
Awesome.
book. If you get a chance, you'll see it. If you go on my page, you'll see Dr. Warren Jackson. He'll describe his book. Good brother. Love him. Yes.
Charity Ash.
Charity!
Finding the good.
That's
family
it.
strengthening.
Hey, sis. Good to see you. Glad for chiming in. Yeah.
Yep, and you have Stacy.
Stacy, yeah. Hey,
Love
cuz.
them in the spirit of blemish.
Oh, nice.
Real
Love. I like that. Love them in the spirit
of
of blemish. Yes, good word, Stacy.
Yes.
Good insight.
And Kenya says, Key is tune in.
Okay. Okay.
Love you, babe.
Nice, Kiki.
Right.
Yep.
And
Do I need my hair done, Kiki? No.
and Michael Poem.
Oh, there's Mike. Mike from Florida.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Said mask is a fake way to see the world of yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
The world help drives these false narratives such as Hollywood and the world
Yes.
system,
Yes.
while
Yes.
people have tendencies about who they are.
Yeah, he's a
Right.
philosopher. He's talking about how we're almost driven by our society to put on masks.
Put on the mask.
It's acceptable.
That's good. Though.
It's acceptable. It's acceptable for people, and we can see the person with the mask on and says, "Wow, they are very insecure," But they're doing things to cover it up, so you can see that they're insecure, but you can see the mask that they're trying to cover the insecurity with. So a lot of times, like I said, somebody tries to use a lot of bravado, or tries to use sexuality as a way of covering their own insecurity, and we can see it, but in our society, it's allowed, it's portrayed, it's
Right.
accepted to be that way.
Yeah.
Any questions we have in there?
No questions.
Okay, no questions this week. Wow. So you guys didn't have any questions. Look, I'm going to tell you that I love that you participated. I love you being with us and your patience. We are going to continue more with this series, How Men and Women Should Show Up in Relationship. We're going to talk about mask again next week, and we're going to bring back our callers just so we can show you a dynamic renewal and restoring of relationship. At least if we don't restore it that day, we're going to be in the process of restoring, and we're going to continue to teach you some more about family strengthening skills. Remember mirrors. I want you to remember that, because I'm going to cover mirrors at a different time. Remember metaphors. Metaphors are word pictures, and they help you understand and see your process. And so when you are able to see your process and see the process of others, then you can begin to communicate, and then you can improve your relationships. I love you, and I'm going to end with let me see if my song,
Nope,
my thing,
that won't play.
it went out.